Hasbro just announced that they are pulling out of the movie industry. What does this mean for the future of Transformers and G.I. Joe? Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Echo Base Network. So glad that you could be here with us today. It is a dark day. It is a very dark day for someone like me who absolutely loves Transformers and G.I. Joe. Two of my most favorite franchises of all time, owned completely by Hasbro. Hasbro has been co-financing or financing all of the movie projects when we've seen Transformers and G.I. Joe. Well, they just announced that they are pulling out of it, and why? You have to assume it's because all of the losses that they have suffered here in the last few years. Last one, Transformers 1. And you can see the announcement here. Hasbro will no longer finance films of their products. And they're talking, what do they own? Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, and the list goes on. Well, Hasbro recently announced that they were trying to create a cinematic universe for Hasbro. They wanted to do an epic G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie. We were working on that. Well, what's going to happen with that now if Hasbro is not going to co-finance the project? That means that it's all up to Paramount to see what happens next. The initial report came from Bloomberg, and they say here, since the film division was not working out, it was sold, and now we have confirmation from Bloomberg that Hasbro will stop investing in films, Transformers, or otherwise. For us fans, that means the future of our beloved franchises lies entirely with Paramount now and what they want to do with Lorenzo de Bonaventura as the main creative producer to the franchise. Do we believe that Paramount is going to pour a bunch of money into these projects and take all of the risk without Hasbro co-financing and taking some of that risk as well? Right now, it doesn't look likely. They need a couple of base hit wins right now because look and see what has just happened. Transformers 1 is no longer in the theater. You can now watch it on streaming services. So how much money did it make? None. It took a loss. Now Forbes shows us that domestically, Transformers 1 made $59 million. And they also report that it made $69 million internationally, so that's going to be a gross of $128 million. Well, hang on a second. You just said the production cost was $75 million. Well, that doesn't take into account marketing and distribution. And that, more times than not, doubles. It's the production cost pretty much doubled. We're talking about a big loss, millions and millions of dollars here on Transformers 1. This is something that Hasbro can't afford to do. The really sad thing about that, and I've covered this, Transformers 1 is a fantastic movie. It is so much better than the majority of the fans believed going in. I'm guilty of covering the trailer talking about how it doesn't look good. The promotion of the movie was terrible by Paramount, by Hasbro. Well, the movie comes out, my kids wanted to see it, I go watch it, and it's absolutely fantastic. It was a shock to me, and it was a shock to many people, but the damage had already been done, and they did such a poor job promoting that movie. It lost money, and it's a real shame because it was a Transformers movie worth going to see. For sure, I will definitely admit that. But the problem here is not just Transformers 1. 2023's Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves had a $151 million budget, and it brought in $208 million internationally. Well, when you factor in the same marketing and production cost, it lost money. And that's something that they have been doing lately with Paramount and Hasbro. 2023's Transformers Rise of the Beast, a slight win, maybe. It had a production budget of $200 million, and it brought in $439 million. Again, when you factor in those costs, it won. It had some profit, but not enough to justify a big budget movie. So with it being likely profitable, the margin is too thin. 2021's My Little Pony had a budget of $25 million. It had a limited theatrical release, and it went over straight to Netflix. It didn't make a whole lot of money, even though it was likely profitable. 2021 Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. Snake Eyes, one of the most beloved characters in the G.I. Joe franchise. They made an origin story about him. All of you guys remember that movie. Well, it had a budget of $88 million and it only brought in $40 million. This is a significant loss. Significant. And the biggest win of perhaps the last 7 or 8 years for the studio is the 2018 movie Bumblebee. It had a $135 million production budget, and it made over $430 million at the box office. This is a significant win, and it helped that it actually was getting really positive critical reviews, something that their other films haven't really done. There's massive fallout online. You go to the Transformers groups on Facebook or just anywhere on social media, and you see Transformers fans basically going, "What are we doing? I hate to see the death of this franchise. I hope that somebody will come along. Maybe Hasbro will license the product and allow other people to make their movies. Is that going to be Paramount? I don't know. We don't know right now what's going to happen, but what we do know is that Hasbro is saying enough is enough. We're pulling out. We're not going to put our money, behind these projects anymore because there's no payoff. And if you switch over and look at the gentleman who is in charge at Paramount, it's Lorenzo de Bonaventura, and he obviously is the producer for many of the movies that we're talking about. Well, look and see what movies he has done. Now, look, they're not all slam dunks. Some of them are good. Some of them are not good. Transformers 1, really good movie, but it was a major box office failure. Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Madam Web, everybody. A Marvel cinematic failure. Transformers Rise of the Beast, that's a good one. Snake Eyes, that's a very, very bad one. Doom Annihilation. I mean, Lorenzo, I hate to say it. At this point right now, I kind of have a vote of no confidence in him being the producer on these films and for this franchise. Is this a good thing or a bad thing that Hasbro's pulling out? We don't know that right now, but right now as it sits, the news is very negative. As a longtime fan of the franchise, the entire 40 years for Transformers, the whole run, I've been there through it all. I hope that they can right the ship. I hope that we're not seeing another Star Wars situation. Maybe somebody will come along and purchase Transformers and get it going, a way that the fan base can appreciate, and they start bringing in other people. It's kind of scary when I sit back and look at it because I have to wonder, is it now time for the 1980s fad? The comeback of the 80s, is it starting to die off now? Hollywood's been rebooting all these things, remaking all these things over and over. They even went to the 90s. They did Power Rangers just a few years ago. Are we now in a situation where a lot of these things from the 80s are no longer going to be hot? They're not going to resonate with the younger audiences, and it's just not going to pull in the kind of profit that they need. It's a sad day for Transformers fans and G.I. Joe fans alike and all the fans of Hasbro. But who knows what's going to happen? Maybe ultimately in the long run it'll be a good thing. Time will tell. Thank you for being here at Echo Base Network. You are Echo Base Network. May the force be with you. Transform and roll out, and knowing is half the battle. See you on the next one.